I love my aquarium. I mean my aquaponics system. All right. It was never my intent, but my wife's sister brought me over two little baby aloe vera plants last year. So I put them into the greenhouse, gave them their own little pot, and that's what happened. So far in the last year, I've harvested this thing 4 times, back down to the two mother plants. Now, the dilemma is, if you watch how they extract the jelly from an aloe vera, the leaves that they're using are massive. But I want to leave my mother plant and just thin out the smaller stuff, and trying to take and slice it and scoop it out and so on is literally, you lose more than what the effort is. So after much contemplation and deliberation, I have worked out a different method on extracting the jelly. And so today, I've got so much aloe vera, it's horrible. I'm giving plants away to neighbors. I'm giving it to family, okay? I have stuff frozen. I have stuff in the fridge that sits there for, I can't get it all or eat it all, and it goes bad. And so I told myself, I said, why don't I make jelly? Everybody likes jelly, okay? It's nice, it's sweet, it's colorful depending on what it is. It's jelly. Everybody eats it for breakfast normally if they have it or can afford it. I hope you can afford it. If not, get an aloe vera plant and do what I'm about to do. If it works. I say if it works is because, as I like to do with a lot of things, I like to experiment. And I've never done this recipe. It's only in theory. It's only in my head. And we're going to get to see if it works or not. Once we're done with it, then I will show you the end results and we will discuss what went right, what went wrong, and if it actually tastes the way that I expected it to. So, that's what we got. Let's take this in, break it down, wash it, and go from there. Alright, today we're going to be dealing with aloe vera. We're going to make some aloe vera jello, and we're going to try a couple of different recipes to make aloe vera flavored jelly. A couple of things I'm going to tell you right away, and I'll mention it later as well because it's well worth mentioning. If you have a latex allergy, don't mess with this stuff. Aloe vera has a natural layer of latex, liquid latex, between its outer and inner skins. Its inner gel and outer skin, its epidermal layers. And people have been known to be using this stuff and have a latex allergy, and then, just like wearing latex gloves or whatever, they start breaking out rashes, sores, itching, redness. Imagine it then if you turn this into a jelly and then eat it. You can't cook this stuff out. It's the same as like with green tomatoes and so on. You cannot cook the poison, you cannot cook the latex out. It's in there, especially the way that I press mine. So I have a step in which I will try to extract at least 75-80% of the latex from it, and then from that do my cooking. My wife and I are not allergic to latex. However, how often do you sit down at dinner and ask someone, are you allergic to nuts? Are you allergic to milk? Are you allergic to whatever? But I doubt you've ever sat down when you're planning a menu and go, okay, who's allergic to latex? Again, cooking in a kitchen, know your ingredients, know what you're dealing with, or you're going to hurt someone. All right? If not yourself, then someone else. The other thing is, aloe vera, when consumed, acts as a laxative. How much you eat, of course, will depend upon its reaction based on age, health, gut and intestinal health, weight, a lot of different factors. So don't go making Jell-O jigglers with this stuff and then have everybody try to get to the bathroom at the same time the next morning. It's going to be a mess, people. So, having said that, you've had your warning. So, you're responsible. Let's get into it. I do a lot of cooking, okay? And sometimes I cook with stuff that is not the norm. Sometimes I do experiments. Like today, this is going to be an experiment. But just like I'm always saying, know your equipment. Keep your knife sharp so you're always literally on edge, that you're going to cut yourself. These things help reduce the chances of accidents, possibly even deaths, occurring in the kitchen. We've gotten so used to processed foods that we forget at times animals have claws, horns, hooves, fangs, poisons, and so on that they use to either hunt, defend, whatever. Plants are the same way. Some of their stuff, though, is a bit more subtle. Okay? My collar's upside down. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. There are certain things that I will be using on and off occasionally that I feel deserves special caveats, or you really need to know this, okay? Like with the green tomatoes. We eat tomatoes all the time. And yes, botanically, it's a fruit. Get over it. It's not a friggin' vegetable. I don't care what the Supreme Court said. Undoubtedly, they never ate their four food groups. Tomato, botanically, by definition, by design, scientifically, is a fruit. Deal with it. I have fruit salad. Why can't I have a tomato salad? It's still a fruit salad. But I wouldn't want to put it in with my other fruit salad. It's a totally different fruit. Why? Because it's got different chemicals in it that gives it different textures, flavors, and so on. Green tomato is poisonous within certain tolerances. And by certain tolerances, you've got to understand a lot of factors can play into whether a food is toxic to an individual or not. Let's see. Take, for example, if I gave green tomato jelly to an adult and they put it on a piece of bread and ate it, probably no effect at all. They probably have 3 or 4 slices. No effect. You give this to a small child, you could have problems. We used to have a guy in the village, he would eat small amounts of certain mushrooms to build tolerances. And he was able to eat some mushrooms that literally, within margin, within portions, that normally would have made someone else extremely sick at best. Okay? But if you live in this country lifestyle and so on, and you're brought up with some of this stuff, you literally will build, in some cases, a natural immunity within a certain degree. Why all of this? The aloe vera plant is poisonous. Okay? But not the way that you or I may originally think. When we think of poisons, we think of rat poisons, roach poisons, things that will kill you, arsenic, cyanide. Okay. This one is a kicker, because an aloe vera has 3 basic layers. The outer layer, where photosynthesis takes place, that has the chlorophyll and so on. The inner middle layer, that's the gel or jelly, which is what we're wanting. But just around between that is a layer of natural latex. That's right, boys and girls, latex. And what this is it's not to protect the plant from predation or from being eaten or whatever. It's mostly so that it has a natural insulation to hold the jelly on the inside. Otherwise, because the outer has pores, they're waxed, but they still got some pores, and over time, especially in a hot desert condition, the moisture could leak out. So it's got specially designed leaves and the latex in order to help protect it so it doesn't dry out. How many times have you been serving dinner to guests and go, we're having Oriental tonight. Is anybody allergic to nuts? Okay. Is anybody allergic to milk? I made a cake. It's got milk in it. How many people have sat down to dinner, serving up dinner, and went, okay, who's allergic to latex? Bingo. Again, with this, a lot depends upon allergy, age, body weight, okay? But I would highly suggest if you're allergic to latex, don't get anywhere near this thing plant. Yeah, you use the stuff in the pharmacy and all of that's been processed, okay? And even if you watch how they do this stuff, they'll take the big leaves, cut it, and then scoop it out. I'm guaranteeing you at some point or another, especially if they're just beginning, they're scraping some of that secondary epidermal layer. So there's still some latex in there. It's typically not enough to do anything, and by the time it's processed, you don't have to worry with it. The good point is you can remove a good 95 or 98% of the latex. Now, if this was a large plant, I would cut along the edges and then I would chop it into sections. Soak it in water, typically 12 to 24 hours. This would allow the latex to draw out. You will lose some of the liquids from the gel, unavoidable. But if you're going to be making this recipe, especially to serve to a family with children, or like myself, a bit more over the hill, getting that out of there can possibly save you a lot of toilet problems and or having to take a child to the hospital. Okay? Just be aware of this. Now the way that you do this, because these are much smaller, I've got some that are like that, I'm just going to split it right down the middle. Put it all into the pot, put it all into the bucket, and let it soak. Because these are much smaller and I don't have the big thick pieces that has a lot more latex in it. I'm going to let these soak for about 6 hours. I'm going to drain it. Then I'm going to put fresh room temperature water in again and let it soak another 6 hours. Okay? This should remove well over 90% of any of the latex that's in the plant. So then when we go to the next step, extracting it with the press, with the pressing method that I use, we don't have that big of an issue. However, if I was serving this, like on my green tomato jellies and so on, I have poisonous as part of the labeling. On this, I will have latex as part of the labeling. So when you serve it, you're reminded, hey, is anybody allergic to latex? You may not want to eat that. So I'm not allergic to latex, so I don't have to worry about that on the initial test. But basically what we're going to be doing is, I've got some Jell-O, I've got some vanilla sugar, and I've got, it is a cold gelatin. In other words, you don't cook this. You set it, you prep it for about 10 minutes in some water, you mix it in, and then it gels. Okay? And what we're going to do is sort of a split. I'm going to only use the Jell-O and the aloe vera to do the refrigerator Jell-O.